Hello, hello.
Hey guys, how are you?
This is so exciting.
I know, we've never done this before, so it's like so much fun. I mean, it's not as good as us being actually together, but it's better than nothing, that's for sure. How are you? It looks like you guys have gotten some sun.
We get our first technical thing going on here. So.
Yeah. Not only have we never done a live on YouTube, we've never done a joint one. So we're really just starting out hoping for some problems.
Okay, so we hear that there's a little bit of an echo, so we're going to see if that helps or not.
All right.
No,
people are saying no. They just texted saying that there's an echo.
Oh no.
So let us know if there's still a little echo going on. Keep an eye on that.
Is it an echo or is it just JJ that they're
hearing? It's still echoing. So we're gonna.
I think I hear an echo on your end. Let me see if mine echoes too. So
let us know, guys, if that's any better.
Just kids in the background. Nice.
It's a repeat of the audio. So let's see. We just made some changes. So let us know if that's any better or not. Sorry, guys. Like we said, first time doing the dual live from different locations. So we're gonna do the best that we can.
Karen says no echo. I think it's just the kids playing.
Okay. The chair said we're good. Excellent.
Okay.
So that brings us into Tara and Chad from Changing Lanes are one of our moderators. So we are super grateful for them for coming on today. And they're going to be chatting with you guys in the chat so that we can stay focused on all the things that we want to talk to you guys about today. And then we also have some dear friends, Dale and Angela from Wandering Walshes that are also going to be chatting with you guys and sending us your questions. So if you guys have any questions about Alaska, about RVing, if you guys are planning any trips, then just let us know, get those sent in to us, and they will make sure that we can see them when we get to the Q&A part at the end. All right. Everything's still good, right? There's still no echo.
I think it was JJ. I think.
Well, we turned down our volume.
I already gave them the speech, but I think they just got louder.
That's totally fine. I love that JJ's giving us the beginning intro. So I think that most people who are jumping on the live probably know who our families are and how our friendship got started. But if you do not, we hit the road in 2017. And before we sold our house and sold everything and bought the RV, we had been researching places to go and we had been researching RVs. And this one guy and his wife with very Southern accent kept showing up on YouTube.
It's like, what are these
and you're like, what are they doing?
Reviewing RVs?
So that is how we were introduced to Less Young More Journey. And then our adventure that we thought was just going to be 1 year ended up taking us all the way to Alaska. In the first 4 months of actually being full-time in the RV, Marissa was like, what are you talking about? And then she found out that we didn't have the milestone. And she was like, are you guys crazy?
I was concerned. I was actually concerned.
So that is actually where we met. And they can explain why JJ is such a special part of the story as well.
Well, we actually met you guys. We had a meetup at, was that Cabela's? Yes. And so we had a meetup at Cabela's and we had met y'all through Team Journey and kind of had a few conversations. And so then you showed up and you was like, hi, nice to finally meet you. And then you're like, we just hit the road. And I'm like, you just hit the road and you're in Alaska? I remember thinking, wow, these people are adventurous. It's taken us years to get up here and y'all just went for it. And I love that. But then we just happened to be heading in the next direction in Alaska. And that's what's cool about Alaska. And something I don't think I even knew was it kind of makes a loop and you're kind of leapfrogging and meeting the same people. I just thought it was this huge state and we would never really cross many paths, but it's similar loops. So we were heading to the same place. And so we camped together and so we're sitting around a campfire and, as RVers, I feel like you just go really deep, really fast. And so
it's that campfire magic.
Yeah,
it really is. And so we're sitting around a campfire, had just met you guys, was just hanging out and was like, hey, by the way, we're expecting a baby, and I hadn't even told my family yet. So
well,
it was
easy
like
to tell a stranger.
Because we had been following them, we knew what this journey had been like for them and how they had struggled through, infertility and like just really hoping for this new baby. And so both of us, like after meeting each other like 2 days before, are sobbing around a campfire together, like hugging each other. So it was just a really special time to
super
share
special. Yeah.
And that really kind of started not only our friendship, but like this grand adventure that connected our families in just such a really special way. Thank goodness, because Corey was able to cook and keep smells out of Nathan and Marissa's Airstream because he was so sick.
But that also brings up a thing that it's not wasted time to invest in people that you think you're only going to meet in one place, because you will run into them on accident and definitely on purpose as you travel. Because
definitely in Alaska, because like she said, it's just like a loop, and you keep like coming to the same hubs every single time, which is just amazing. This is segueing to like something very special that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the live, but just for, talking about it at the beginning, if people have to leave, we had such an incredible time, and it was where our friendship formed. It's where JJ, kind of made his appearance in all of our lives. And the last, 6 years have been so special with our Mosses. And so it's been a dream of both of our families to be able to see Alaska in a different way. We've all RV'd it multiple times, but getting to see Alaska by sea is something totally different. So we are
hit different places.
Yes, exactly. That you can't easily get your RV to. I said that once, that you can't take your RV, to these places, and they were like, actually, you can. I'm like, okay, yes, you can ferry. It's not an easy route. So we are so excited that our families are going to be seeing Alaska from the ocean for our Sail Away Alaska 2025. So in September, we're taking a cruise. We have 100 ocean view cabins. We cannot wait for so many of you guys to join us. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But if you're interested in any of that information, it's in the description on both of our channels, and it'll give you all that information. And you can either book or, kind of figure out if you want to join us. We would love to have you.
And bring your family.
Yes, this isn't just
what
like
we're excited about is that our family has seen our adventures so often, but they can't easily plan around visiting us because they got to get a hotel or whatever. So we have a bunch of our family members that are actually coming on the cruise with us. So that's what we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, we cannot wait. My mom, my stepdad, and my grandmother are coming with us to Alaska, which is a major dream for my grandmother. So we're so excited to have family members. I know you guys have family members coming too. So
I've almost got my mom convinced to go. She's not quite there yet.
Come
Dad,
on, Mom.
That's
right. You guys have got to come. You got to come. So we are just so excited that you guys are all here. We are really excited to share with you guys the information that we have gleaned from RVing to Alaska, and at least some advice that will help you guys in your planning process. So really quick, I just want to kind of do a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. If you have questions regarding any of these topics, make sure you post it into the chat, and our moderators will get them over to us. And hopefully we'll have plenty of time later on so that we can go through some of those, and hopefully we'll answer some of those questions as we talk through these. But we're going to be discussing when you should go, like what time of year, how long you should go, all those fun questions about like the time. What route should I take? How bad are the road conditions? What RV should I take to Alaska? And we have a plethora of information about that as well.
What RV do you have?
And should I caravan? And our answer is obviously going to be yes to that. But we do have a couple pieces of advice about caravanning in any way, whether it's to Alaska or in an RV, that we want to talk with you guys about that. So that's where we're going to head into right now. So our very first question is, when should I go?
That's the tough one, and we talked about it a little bit before between us, and it's going to be based on what your priorities are. And as you watch videos and as you research Alaska, you're going to figure out what the most important things are, and you need to plan your route around that, because I don't know, you're going to get lost if you try to do everything.
Yeah. It's a good point. It's a good
yeah,
point
maybe.
about that, for sure.
I think of like the Tampa RV show too. We always recommend, before you go, have a plan. Like I think Alaska obviously is the same, but you can also, I will say, you can also overplan.
Mm-hmm.
Don't box yourself in so much that you don't leave any flexibility if the weather changes or you run into someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think reservations are good. Pick out your big rocks, get those reservations in place. If Denali, national park's a must do, then book it. If you want to be there for summer solstice, and we'll talk about some of these things, but as you pick out your big rocks, you might book a few things, but to have every single day booked with no flexibility whatsoever, maybe you can overlap and modify those later. But also the second part of that is, to me, like, don't overbook as well.
And it is,
you don't have to be as crazy as us in FOS, but don't overbook. Yeah, to me, you want to be careful overbooking too.
Fly by the seat of our pants.
Well, we were just in Alaska, and we never book anyways, but that's what flexibility did for us, because we were able to see different areas, getting different weather, and we were able to maneuver around different dates on purpose to make sure we were hitting these places. Because for the most part, it's not that hard to get reservations in Alaska. Like, there's so many options that I would not be afraid to move stuff around and stay a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. I also think that you want to make sure that you're thinking through Canada as well as Alaska. So for us, when we first went to Alaska, Banff and Jasper were almost as big as Alaska on our list. And so because of that, because we wanted to see the blue water of Lake Louise and Moraine Lake, we wanted to make sure that it had thawed. So if you are deciding what time of year to go, you either need to decide, do I want to see summer solstice, which means you need to get into Alaska a lot faster than you're going to be able to see all those sites in Canada, or are Banff and Jasper going to take that place of priority? So it's just something to think about, because if those lakes are iced over, you're not going to get those colors. And then on your way back, if you're planning on doing it on the way back, there's a couple caveats. You're entering into fire season, so you need to be careful about that, and you're going to be tired. So it is something to think about. It's doable, and we actually did some of Banff and Jasper on the way up and the way back on our last trip. But just know that you're not going to have the same level of energy and excitement after spending 2 months, 3 months, however long it's going to be up in Alaska.
Yeah, that's the joke. We'll hit it on the way back. I think we say that all the time, and you never hit it on the way back, because like you're saying, any route, you're just so tired because you've been going and doing, and it's a good tired, but yeah, we always say, well, you never hit it on the way back. But I also wanted to bring up too, I know when we're talking about big rocks, and I know something for me, like Wrangell St. Elias was a big rock. I really wanted to see that, but I had planned it. It was the last stop on my loop, and I didn't start there. We started for summer solstice in Fairbanks and worked our way down. But by the time we got there, it was the end of the season, and the road had washed out, because the roads are at the best at the beginning of the season, because they've got them all prepared for the year. Yeah. So I think in hindsight, if that was a big rock of mine, I didn't know that the roads could potentially not be good by the end of the season. So next time, we've said when we go, we would go the opposite way, just because that would be a big rock and something I'd want to see, and not chance by the roads not being available. So that's something to consider too. I would hate for that to be your top list, and then you miss it. So roads can be a condition by the end of the season as well.
For sure. And they were rough at the end of the year this year.
And you want to look at Alaska not as the giant state where there's just roads going everywhere. There's a particular loop that you hit when you do Alaska. It's like Tok. It's going up to Fairbanks, Denali, Anchorage, down to Homer, over to Seward, over to Whittier. And then another part of the loop would be to go down to Valdez. And if you look at that, that little, I guess I should have put it on here. I read out of points, but over by Glen Allen, you see that point right below where it says 36 hours. That is Wrangell St. Elias, and that's what she's talking about. That's why that was at the end of the loop. And I can tell you that is a worthwhile stop. I would not bring your camper there. I don't know if you watched our series where we went there in the Lineage.
Yeah.
I would not have brought a trailer, I don't think. Maybe it's 60 miles of very rough washboard.
There you go. Yeah.
And it took us 3.5 hours to go that 60 miles. So we went really slow. We did not want to break anything. But the problem with that road is it's actually built over an old railroad. So what happens is old railroad ties actually start working their way up, and people puncture their tires all the time on that road.
Yeah. Something to think about for sure. We lucked out and that didn't happen to us. So that was really good. There is a question that's coming through right now that someone was asking, like what we consider the end of the season to be. And so that's really important as we're talking through this. So in Alaska, the season can start. We know people that have gone up through like in April. Just know that you're going to be facing ice. You may be facing a little bit of snow still, maybe bad roads. And then, you know, you can stay. We had people writing to us that were there in October this year.
Yep.
When we were RVing together in 2018, we left around the end of August, beginning of September. I'm pretty sure we celebrated Nathan's birthday in September in Destruction Bay. We had like just left Alaska. And so it really is up to you. We just knew that we didn't want to get caught in like more northern elevations.
But I would say peak
snow.
season, last 2 weeks of June, July, August, and then
into
September is like a wild card. Some people say that September can be the very best month.
Yeah.
But it's hit or miss. So you can't really plan on it.
Especially if you want to see northern lights. Like I know that's why we stayed later in the season, because that was a goal of ours. So if that's a priority, you know, making sure you save some time on the end, which we started seeing them about mid-August the year we were there.
Yes. And it's another good point to bring up. So when we were talking about that big circle, just know that all of those points, like all those peninsulas that deviate off the circle, that is putting you into rainforest, which a lot of people don't realize. Alaska is part rainforest, which means
along the coast,
you're going to have you're going to have more chance of rain and possibly bad weather. And so for us, it was very frustrating in the end of August because we were all down south and all of our friends that we had met there had gone up north, and they were posting pictures every night of the most beautiful like aurora they'd ever seen. Yeah. And poor Marissa is like, you know, hormonal and, you know, crying to get to see it because we were leaving.
My FOMO is for real. It's bad.
I know. It was a bummer. So it is something to think about. And it's part of our advice personally that we think that you should go up when you're going to be able to see Banff and Jasper, and then do the southern part first to avoid possible, like even more crowds that seem to go north more at the beginning, and to avoid the bugs because the mosquitoes in like that northern part of the route at the in June, yeah. Ooh, they're rough. So that would be our suggestion. And that means that as you're doing that northern route and hitting Denali on the end of the season, the weather's warmer up there and the bugs are gone, and you have better chances of clearer skies for the aurora.
Because the best thing about, my favorite thing about Alaska was all of the daylight, being out there in August, in July, and you're still doing stuff at midnight. People are out fishing. It's just so
chainsawing. Yeah, we were like camping. It was like 2 a.m. and we're like, who is out there chainsawing right now? But they make the most of it. They make the most of it.
It's exotic. It's exotic feeling. But just because of that, that's why it's not until August that it gets dark enough for you to actually see the northern lights.
So make sure if that is on your list that you're staying long enough, because it is a consideration for sure. So Marissa talked about solstice, which you guys did the first year, correct?
Yes, we did.
And enjoyed that. So it is something that, that's in June. So it's June, 21st, I think?
It depends. It kind of changes. Yeah, the 21st, which was cool. I don't know. And we did the event, and it's a huge deal for, I think if you want a local experience, it was a very cool local experience. And we ran the race at midnight, which when do you run a 5K at midnight? Or I think it was more than that. It was a 10K or something. Yeah. With our 5-year-old, which looking back, I'm like, I can't believe we did that, but we did it. And, so it was like a fun, cool experience, but I don't know if that would be my big rock, especially it just depends what your priorities were.
Right.
But that did, like you're saying, once you commit to that kind of commits you being in Fairbanks at a certain time.
Right.
I think next time another big rock when you're talking about dates is like, I think July 4th. They're huge for July 4th there. And they have so many different fun activities. And so I think instead of like maybe a solstice, I would prioritize something fun like that too. That way it doesn't lock me in. But it was a fun experience. But next time I wouldn't make it my big rock, but it just depends your priorities.
I think what you pick first. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on just what you visualize your experience in Alaska being. For some of you, you might visualize sitting on a bank with a long lens shooting eagles and bears, and for some of you it might be sitting with full hookups in a city and then just kind of getting a feel for the culture. That and summer solstice is great for that. It was neat. You're running at 1-2 a.m. and the locals are out cheering for you, and it doesn't feel like it at all. So it's as you're picking those rocks, you're picking what kind of experience you want to have. And I think, again, I'll come back to the flexibility. Have some flexibility that things could go wrong. But there are multiple chances to see eagles and multiple chances to see things. But at the same time, get those 3, 4, 5 big things you really want to see. Which for us, I think we would lean more toward the nature route than the city route. But it all varies. Anchorage, people would joke, Anchorage is great. It's only 30 minutes from Alaska. It's kind of like,
and that's people from Anchorage. That was our friends from Anchorage told us that. We did not.
Yeah, that's not our joke. Yeah, if you're from but it's really true. You're in Anchorage and you're like, this doesn't even feel like Alaska.
The Target has the prettiest view I've ever seen with mountains.
But you got to pick the kind of experience you want. If you want to have full hookups the entire time and have it entirely planned out, it'll be a totally different experience than having flexibility and willing to go without hookups sometimes, or maybe partial hookups, or staying in driveways. And it really depends.
There's a lot of campgrounds that are simply just a parking lot, but they have the best views. So plan on practicing your boondocking for at least a couple days to get the experience of Alaska. And it's just not as hard as you think. And I think the glaring question is roads. Everybody is concerned about the roads going up to Alaska. And if you've driven through any major city, if you've driven on I-10, if you've driven through Michigan, those roads will do just as much damage as the roads in Alaska. Yeah. So I would say almost all the way up to Alaska. You see where the little dots start on the screen there?
You've been color-coded, Corey. This is super fancy, by the way. I'm very impressed.
That is Destruction Bay. And Destruction Bay, up until that point, so you've driven 2,500 miles up through Canada on beautiful roads, absolutely beautiful roads. It's not until about 2 hours before you hit the border that you'll have some gravel sections. You just got to slow down in those areas. But if you see where I've left the whole map blue, all of that is perfectly fine roads. You're not going to have any issues on those roads, especially if you come up in July, the end of July, the end of June, beginning of July, because all the frost heaves have settled by then. Because if you're not from the north, you don't really know what a frost heave is. What happens to the roads are water literally freezes under roads and pushes them up. That's what happens up north. That's a frost heave. So if you want to avoid those, that's another reason to go up a little bit later, because the ground has thawed a little bit more. But I'm going to let Nathan talk about this, because we did not do the top of the world highway. We did chicken this, but we cheated and took a Jeep with some friends. So I don't know that random red loop. That's unknown land for me.
Well, I saw this question too, and sometimes we just skim through terms and not really the summer solstice. So we did talk about that earlier, just to clarify, because there is a question on here. It's when it's the longest day of the year, right? And they celebrate
June 21st.
June 21st. They celebrate in Fairbanks, and they've got like a whole week of festivities, right?
Yeah.
They've got like some sort of a baseball game that goes on like at midnight, and we did the run that was in the middle of the night, and so it's really
like a huge fair festival. Yeah.
So it's if you don't like people, it's a little more crowded, especially for Fairbanks. but at the same time, it's interesting. It's an interesting experience to be up there in the middle of the night and it feel like 1-2 p.m. and just because
it's the peak of the sunlight. So it's like you get 24 hours of sunlight, and then once summer solstice hits, then it slowly starts getting darker until winter solstice in around December. So
and that's that's like a countrywide thing.
Correct.
Like it's not just Alaska. Like there's a summer solstice. It just doesn't mean anything to anybody until
they just celebrate it because they get all
goes away.
Yeah. If you try to do a run at 2 a.m. in Florida in summer solstice, probably more.
Right, exactly. I wanted to also touch. Marissa had mentioned that 4th of July is a big deal. So if you guys are planning a trip and you want to be up in Alaska for 4th of July, the two main events that people like to attend there is an Alaskan 4th of July car launch in Glacier View, where they literally sit at the bottom of this ravine with like a lake or a river, and up in front of them, cars are literally launched off a cliff.
Ghost
and
ride
like,
whatever they can off the side of the cliff.
I've got to see this. It's on my journey list. This is next time for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can actually see the cars. So you can go a day before. You can sign your name to the cars, and then once they go and get the cars, you could actually try to go and find like the damaged vehicle that has your signature on it. We actually had friends that did that this year. So that's one of them. And then Seward also has an amazing event called the Mountain Marathon Race that they have done for a very long time. And it is a race from the center of Seward up the mountain and back. And it started because of a bet in a bar many decades ago.
Yeah.
Some guy bet someone else that he could run up the mountain in an hour, and he missed it by like a few minutes.
Yeah.
But it's
just
so
see this
cool.
mountain, and the fact that some people are doing it in under an hour, you're just gonna.
It's unbelievable.
Just want to get it up.
Yeah.
I think Alaska just has some of the coolest traditions, and they're very like proud to be Alaskan, and so which you should be. It's just very cool and interesting, and I love that they have things you can't do anywhere else in the world. Like, where else can you do this
Exactly.
stuff? So
I think
it's just a
their
cool
pride
culture.
also gives them like the most enthusiasm of any like culture that I think that I've been to before. I mean, obviously we haven't traveled the world, but they just get so excited about things, and their enthusiasm is like catchy. So it's just really, really fun to be with them.
They've been cooped up all winter, and we're there at their window too.
It's
So
true.
they're just as excited as you are. All right, we got to go back to the roads because you got to talk about the Dalton.
Well,
So there
over
was
the top of the highway.
Let's see. We had a comment here. I was going to pop up, but here we go. So we'll leave that on there. TOTW, Golden Anniversary and Adventure. They're talking about top of the world. And so going back to the route Corey was talking about that we took this direct red route you see right here.
All right.
That's how we roll. We had and we'll put into context what we had as well. At the time, we had our GMC van pulling a 31-foot Airstream, which was a tank, and it did great. I will say in general, and Corey and Jesse can chime in on this too, the road conditions in Alaska are, I think the good roads are under promoted and the bad roads are probably over exaggerated, I guess.
Yeah.
So like they make great thumbnails on these terrible roads, but usually if you stay on the main path, it's not going to be super treacherous. You don't have to take these red areas. You do have to go through some of them, but you definitely don't have to take the path that we took up. So the red, we went up through Dawson City, came around to Chicken, and really a lot of the roads up until you got to Dawson City-ish were not that bad. I mean, they were through Canada and it was paved, and they're not big and wide or anything fancy, but the roads were
remote, but
yeah. But then once you got where you started getting toward top of the world, which is what we got the comment on here, the roads kind of shifted over to gravel, and really the gravel wasn't even that bad. What's really bad in Alaska is from Chicken to the Alaskan border, and that's where Corey and Jesse cheated and they had a Jeep. You get the washboard roads. So if you've the washboard roads are the worst. It's the roads like kind of like my abs probably, right? They're like, it's they just got these rivets in it nonstop. So you can only go, I think in our Airstream, I would try to get over 20 miles an hour, and it just felt like it was shaking everything to pieces. So you're stuck going 15, 20 miles an hour the whole time if you don't want to shake your rig to pieces. So that stretch from Chicken to the Alaskan border, or sorry, from the Alaskan border to Chicken, not Chicken to the Alaskan border. I think it actually got a little bit better at some point past Chicken a little bit, didn't it? But yeah, that whole
it wasn't washboard like dirt, but there's so many frost heaves on that road, and even like Toke up to Chicken, which is why Corey has that all in red. We did take the RV from Toke up to Chicken, and you just need to be really careful. And Corey's mentioned it before, like there's a couple things that you look for where like you're looking ahead at the white line on the road on the other side of the road. And if you start to see that line like dip, just know that there's some major. It's actually really easy to spot the bad spot. Yeah.
You look, but it's worth it because Chicken has the best cinnamon roll I've ever had in my life. So it was I would drive back up there just to get that cinnamon roll. So
Marissa's been talking about that cinnamon roll for 6 years, and I finally got to try it this year. It took a long time.
Did you? I didn't know y'all got to try it.
Oh yeah. We
was it as good as I remembered, or am I just
definitely cheated? We would. So you could look at that white line on the left side about 1/8 of a mile. You know, as far as you can see, you're going to see it kind of disappear and come back. You know, there's going to be some bumps there. Yeah. Then there's some other obvious signs, which there's going to be any kind of oil spots in the road. That's where a truck has hit that bump a million times, and one drop goes off, and that's going to leave a big puddle of oil. If you see that on any roads, not just Alaska, anywhere, there's going to be some bumps there.
Yeah.
And then if you're close enough to see the scars in the tar, it's probably too late.
Right. Exactly. When there's like giant divots just taken out of the tar, like.
And never ever trust a railroad.
Never.
If you can caravan with somebody who always likes to be in the lead, that is a great person to caravan with, because you can watch their rig in front of you, which it was a lose-lose for us because Corey had this Walmart hitch that was breaking all the time. So if Corey was in front of me, I got to see the heaves, but then I had fear that those bikes were going to break off. We were on the same channel as somebody driving with us one time, and they were talking
on the walkies.
Yeah, on the walkies, and they were talking about how crazy.
What are these idiots doing up here?
So it was a loser. Yeah, either I had to be in the front and hit the heaves, or I had Corey's bike rack in front of me. But yeah, I think if you're caravanning, if you got somebody demands on being in front all the time, that's actually a pretty good win.
That is hilarious. We literally just had that entire conversation on our FOS crew live like 2 days ago. And like that was like a regret that we brought bikes on the back of the RV. So that's another piece of advice.
If you can follow somebody, not even if you're not caravanning, you follow somebody and try to pace them, just give yourself enough room, just kind of pace them at a good distance so you can watch what their vehicle's doing. That's another cheat.
Yeah, it's definitely a cheat, and it's a good one. For sure. All right, so I think we've covered our bad conditions. Just know that we don't think it should be a deterrent for you to not RV Alaska, because we promise there are worse roads in the lower 48 than what you're going to hit up there. But what we will say is that you just have to be aware. And so it's another point of, like we always say, don't RV like us, don't drive, maybe late at night, or make sure that you're not overdoing those drive days.
Although if you do drive at night, your headlights will see the divots in the road a lot easier.
Don't do what he does. It's fine.
But then there could be deer. So
then there could be deer. But I'm just saying, make sure that you're not exhausted to the best of your ability, because it is, I know that, because I haven't driven it all myself, that's for sure. I know that it is exhausting for these guys when they're driving for hours and hours and they're really trying to pay attention, and you can't let up.
Just don't be in a hurry. This is what it comes down to.
Enjoy it.
And you should drive like that down here too. Like not just, this is not just Alaska advice. Like out and don't go too fast.
Enjoy the journey.
Because every time we go too fast.
Exactly.
I did see that on parts. What are your feelings on parts, guys? Like, what do you take? I mean, I know we're probably not the best examples, both of us. I think I know where this is going, but I'm trying to find the part question. We didn't take a whole lot.
We didn't take anything.
I'm trying to think if we were going again. I think to me, the only reason I would really stock up on, obviously, a spare tire, and all the basics as far as, make sure you've got what you need to change your tire, patch your tire. The tires are the biggest. Get new tires. We got brand new tires right before we left for us. Because that's one of the weak points of the tires. You want to double check everything on your rig, the leaf springs, check for cracks. So I think if you've thoroughly looked at your rig, and if the same thing is already broken a couple of times, you might want to carry one of those parts, because it could be broken a third time. But if your rig doesn't have a history of having a particular problem, if your water pump, the same one's got, I'm trying to think of a good example, but you know what I'm saying. If a part has a history of going out, but I don't think it's like the roads. Don't freak out about the breakdowns. It's not like was it ice road truckers or something where you're like sitting out in the snowstorm by yourself. Nobody's going to see you for days. They're laughing because people are like coming by you all the time, and they'll love to help you out. They'll do what they can. And you get to these cities, and like I said, Anchorage it's a huge city. I mean, it's hundreds of thousands. Everything. They should have everything you need. And absolute worst case is it'll get shipped up there within, I can't guarantee depending on the part you need, but most stuff you need can be done in Anchorage or some of these big cities too. So I wouldn't let that fear, and I think that'll be the theme of a lot of what we say, is don't let the fear of what you see sometimes on YouTube keep you from going to Alaska.
I think people shared parts too. I know for us, was it Dawson City? We had something leaking. Do you remember some kind of water or something? Yeah. And there was a group of Airstreams there, and we had an Airstream. And so they had the part we needed, that helped us fix. So I think you can kind of go up and ask and share. And that was always, not saying depend on that, but I'm also saying, I think, especially people in the caravan groups, they were kind of taking things and sharing, and what are you taking, what am I taking, and kind of basing it off that too, which was nice.
The major stuff that breaks though are tires.
Mhm.
They blow. It's leaf spring hangers that can go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability, if your rig is older than a few years, those that don't have, it's just really simple. These are the hangers right here. All they do is put a V in between it, and it makes
Strengthens them.
It is such an easy. I think someone said some welder charged them like $100 to put them in there. That makes your hangers indestructible essentially at that point. And then you might consider, especially if your rig's a few years old and you haven't changed your leaf springs, maybe an extra leaf spring. That might be something worthwhile. But it's tires, it's the leaf spring hangers, and the leaf springs themselves. And then, like I said, read the road. And don't be overloaded because I mean, you can be fine on some flat roads being overloaded, but as soon as you hit a bump that you weren't prepared for, that weight of 1,000 pounds overweight becomes 3,000 pounds or more under compression, fast compression. That's actually when stuff breaks.
Yeah, that's kind of answering John's question right now is would you want to lighten the travel trailer or whatever you're traveling in? And I think that's a really good point. Take what you need, but like if you're a full-time RVer and you have your bread maker and your KitchenAid mixer and like all this kind of stuff and you might be a little overweight, then maybe you want to lighten just for the trip, just to be safe. I think the other question that was asked too that you guys can address is like, what tools do you recommend to take with you?
The same tools you would take to protect yourself anywhere you're traveling. You really should have enough to change at least a tire. But I mean, whatever you're comfortable with, if you know how to use a tool, you should probably have it, honestly.
Well, make sure, I mean, again, I keep going back to the tire thing, but make sure literally go out there and maybe even like make sure you have what you need to take off the tire. You know how to get it out. So you know where it's at. You're not missing some funky tool you need to get the tire off. Make sure your impact wrench is strong enough to take the tire off, or you have your own tools to take that off. It might not be a bad idea. I don't know if you can practice patching a tire or not, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to, because I think a lot of it goes back to that. And then Corey mentioned strengthening things ahead of time. But you don't like I said, we went up with a stock RV. But that's why I had that caveat of if your rig's a few years older, it's got a little bit more wear and tear than our brand new rig had going up there. So that's why I say that if you're a little bit older, I would double check some stuff. But like I said, the roads aren't that bad. They really just aren't. If you're comfortable driving across, I hope you're comfortable driving across our country, but you'll be good. You'll be good. The other thing that I will say is like coming from like the other half of this team, I think it's important that he wasn't the only one that like knew where the jack was, so that while he's working, like, because when you're on the side of the road, and we've done this multiple times, it's a little hectic and stressful, and like there's probably semis driving past you or something crazy, and so you have to make sure that you keep your cool and that you're able to support each other as that's happening. You don't want to rush, because when you rush, you make mistakes, but the longer you're on the side of the road, the more danger you're in. So you do want to have kind of a system in place beforehand. Yeah. So just make sure that like whoever's traveling with you, like, where is the jack? Do we know where it is? Like our girls know where the jack to get the RV up is, because we've had to do it a couple times. And say you a tire and you were driving around on that tire for a mile and you didn't even know it. It's all blown up and you realize and you just stopped where you stopped. If you drove for like a mile on it, you could probably drive another 100 yards to someplace safer. So don't, just because you discovered the issue doesn't mean you can't go a little bit further to get to a safer place. Yeah. Well, we want to talk about the Sprinter, I guess, when we do the RVs. Karen mentioned Templot. Well, again, this is another tire conversation, but some of your RVs, you may not realize, you could actually upgrade your tires to a larger size that is more durable and can handle, the potholes and the bumps and the bruises a little bit better than what you've got stock too.
Karen's from Canada, so
Karen, anything Karen. Have you ever seen?
Karen? I was going to say,
listen to Karen.
That's right. All right.
I just saw something pop up really quick. Someone said, "How hard is it to change a leaf spring?" It's really not that hard. There's just a few bolts. It's work, but it's very straightforward work once you start getting looking at it. It's not that hard. I had never changed one before, and I was able to figure it out pretty easy. So
I will say that having the leveling on our reflection helped, because it was easier to utilize the leveling to help you get that axle back up. that was helpful for me because I was helping him. So once we figured that out, that made it a lot easier. We have a lot of questions that are coming in. So I want to get through to our last 2 points that we're going to discuss, and then we'll get to everybody's questions. Number 4 is, what RV should I take to Alaska? And we've all taken a couple different things. Nathan and Marissa have actually taken a trip to Alaska that didn't include an RV. So they just mentioned that they were in their Airstream before. And I think someone else just posted a comment asking about if it was okay to take a minivan to Alaska. And I was like, well, you guys came close. I mean, it's pretty close.
A lot of people. There's a Facebook group called Driving the Alcan, and people are very active in it. So if you've not seen that Facebook page, join it.
Yeah.
You can glean a lot of information, and people take the any kind of vehicle up there because they're changing jobs or they're doing whatever, but any multitude of times of years, like every circumstance is covered there.
Pretty much what you can drive in the United States, like in the lower 48, you can take up to Alaska.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what kind of vehicle. Just make sure that you know your vehicle, that you have some of those tools with you that we just talked about, and the spare tire would probably be a really good idea.
The RV that we're sitting in right now went to Alaska 7 years ago in the same truck. So
it's in the picture. Yeah.
It's
on the bottom there.
Literally right there.
Yeah, this is the same exact rig. So.
And that fireplace, that little fire pit right there is exactly where Marissa told me that she was pregnant with JJ. So it's such a special place. It was really fun this year to go back to Homer and to visit. It's still just as amazing. You can see Homer all the way down to the left of that peninsula.
Was on the Homer Spit. It's called Mariners Seafarers or Mariners Park.
Yeah.
Well, this is an example. There's no hookups out there, so you can have hookups when you want it out there, but you're gonna have a harder time parking places like this. And then Seward had some really sweet places you could park too. So you're kind of limiting. I don't think you have to spend $30,000-$40,000 getting a solar lithium upgrade, to be able to boondock for weeks or anything like that. But it would be nice, even if you're used to full hookups and boondocking or not having full hookups scares you, it would be nice to at least have the ability to go out somewhere like this for a few nights, get that experience, and then you can go back to the full hookups and recharge. I think it would be a little bit of a travesty to go to Alaska and not spend at least a few nights somewhere without full hookups, because that's when you get, that's you can see the edge of it. That's the ocean
up against the water. Exactly.
Oh, it's awesome. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I do love that you can see that Nathan and Marissa were well ahead of their time in that photo, because they're the only rig that has solar on top of there. We were talking about that recently because Corey, we used a photo, I think, actually for the Lazy Days Tampa camp out that we all did around the Tampa show. And it was a drone photo before they banned drones from being at the show. And there's not one solar panel on any of the RVs.
It shows like 1,000 rigs from up above, and there's not one solar panel. And this is 2019.
Yeah.
That's how far everything has come since
so
then.
crazy. Which, that's amazing that the industry is paid attention and is moving forward, because so many of the new RVs that are coming out either come with some solar, at least a little bit. A lot of them are using lithium batteries now. So you should at least be able to have the ability to go for a couple of nights, which, like Nathan was saying, we
had
really suggest.
A small generator. Just bring what you got. We had two lithium batteries. We had 2 lead acid batteries and a loud generator. Get it?
Terrible. It was dying. Didn't Corey be out there kicking it every night trying to get it to work?
These stinking Nickersons, we can't get rid of them.
No, but perfect example of just making it happen. Don't overthink this stuff. Don't think it takes tens of thousands of dollars. If you're gonna put the money anywhere, I'd say make sure you got a couple of good batteries, and then the next thing, I put it in the generator before I put it in the panels, and then just a couple of panels wouldn't be a bad idea. But yeah, you don't have to have a massive setup to do it.
And then along that line is, if you think you know everything about RVing, it's completely different in Canada and Alaska, because it is so RV friendly. There are free dump stations. There are free water hookups. Propane you can get at almost every gas station up there. So it is very easy to recharge, refresh on the fly. So
for sure.
That's another thing about not having full hookups, because I believe when we went there and caravan with you guys, I think we were there 2 months, and we spent one night
in a full hookups.
That was it.
That was all of it, and it wasn't just that we were trying to rough it or whatever. It was because those were the locations that we wanted to stay in, and we had found ways to make sure we were filling our water. The guys were going and filling containers so that we could refill our water and not move the RVs, because we were in these epic locations what's the river that we stayed by?
The
Knik River. Oh
yeah.
it was so magical. It was just so beautiful.
Awesome.
So cool. So they were in their Airstream the first time. We were in the Reflection, obviously. And then for those of you who don't know, Corey and I and the girls actually took the new Lineage Grand Design's new motorized Class C this summer. And what a cool way to experience Alaska a little bit differently. It was a little bit smaller. Obviously, it was a 25-foot Class C, but the type of travel that we
literally
wanted
didn't have
to
to
do,
think about anything.
it was amazing.
We just went, and where we went, there was a spot.
Yeah.
And as far as power goes with that, I mean, we had 260 amp hours of lithium, but the glory of that was whenever that car was idling or driving or whatever, it was throwing 80 amps back at the batteries. So we never had any power issues whatsoever with that Lineage. And the way most RVs are coming now, it is so much easier.
Yeah. So the motorhome for us was just a totally different experience in RVing in general, but I literally can't imagine a more perfect way to travel and do Alaska at a fast-paced rate. A lot of people have asked us if we wish we had brought a Toad with us, and a Toad is a car that you pull behind like a motorhome. And the answer to that is no, because we were so maneuverable and we could go anywhere. We could stop at a grocery store on the way to our next stop or whatever. It was so easy. I mean, when we went to Banff and Jasper on our way back, we were parking in the hiking trail parking lots with the Lineage. So it was just really, really simple and easy. And even though the girls had a smaller space, they absolutely loved travel days so much that it was one of their favorite experiences. They missed our RV obviously, and they missed having a little bit of space. But if you're going to be fast paced moving and you want to hit a lot of sites in Alaska, man, we can't recommend that high enough. It was amazing. We had such a blast. And then you guys have gone into winter time in Alaska, which is on our bucket list as well. We really want to get up there for dog sledding and stuff.
Man. It was incredible. I always make the joke, don't invite the Mosses if you don't mean it, because when people are like, you should come visit us, you could come, because, we had actually met a family that had reached out to us and wanted us to stay in their driveway, and became really good friends with them. And they're like, you should come back in the winter. Seeing Alaska in the winter is something special. We actually got mad because we couldn't get into the Keys. We were down in Florida for the winter and we were trying to get into the Keys. And if anybody has tried to get into the Keys, you know the frustration. And Nathan got so mad. He came back and was like, I'm over it. Pick anywhere you want to go. And it was the middle of winter. And I was like, I always wanted
Don't
to
give
go
Marissa
to
those
Alaska
options,
in the
Nathan. You know what happens.
And we literally went from going to the Florida Keys to saying, forget it. And we booked a flight, and I contacted our friends. I was like, when you invited us up there for the winter, did you meet? They're like, come on up. So we literally
we flew up. We didn't take the RV up.
We went in the winter, and it is completely different in the winter and the summer. And I know people thought we were absolutely crazy, but it was incredible. It's a completely different experience. And we got to see the Iditarod race, and March was so doable, and it was just magical. And we would ride, they call them snow machines, but snowmobiles to glaciers and seeing Denali and staying in little cabins with fireplaces, and just, it was magic. So I highly recommend, and Northern Lights, right? So we've seen it in the summer, we've seen it in the winter. One is not better than the other. Honestly, they both have just special things about them, but highly recommend doing that adventurous trip. It was fun.
Very cool.
I'll second what's on the screen with I'll just second what Corey and Jesse, I think that's what they were saying too. If you have the option to take a smaller motorhome over a large fifth wheel or large Class A, I would probably opt for that. But that doesn't mean you can't take a large fifth wheel.
Right.
And the you are right. There are no Class A's, but there is a 30-ish foot Class C in there. I think a lot of the large vehicles would stay more in hookups. I think just out of fear of maybe dragging or hitting places. And really, I don't know that was
a lot of big tag axles up there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're definitely up there. And that's not to say you have to do full hookups. I think you could come this spot right here. You could have came here with a large rig if somebody wanted to. And there were probably a few out there. But if you have the option, we even knew somebody who went and bought, and he was handy, but they had a a large fifth wheel, but they went and bought like a 26-foot Class C and took it up there, then sold it when they got back, which we kind of did that for Baja.
Yeah.
But so like, there's lots of ways to do it. I do love, I think just because,
like up there, like say you wanted to take the trip, you go buy a Class C or buy it for somebody else, bring it up to Alaska. Their stuff's worth more up there.
Oh yeah, that's true too.
Up there. So look into that as an option. Buy a Class C, fly back if you want to. There's a million ways to do it.
Oh yeah.
But don't skip driving through Canada. A lot of people say, I just wish I could just get to Alaska.
Oh,
no, you got to drive up.
That's its own journey. Like it's part of the journey going to Alaska. And I think you don't think about that part until you do it. I did, obviously I was like, I want to see Banff and Jasper. And, but it was just such an experience, going through the milepost book and like doing all the stuff. I loved it, stopping at all the cinnamon rolls and just, I don't know. It was just part of the journey is going through Canada. And that's just such a cool part. I don't think a lot of people talk about as much as they should. It's really fun.
And you can spend as little or as much time going through Canada. A lot of people ask how long it takes. And we've done it 4 times up and back. Not up and back 4 times, but four total. And 3 times we did it in 6 days. And that's doing some stops and seeing sights along the way. The last time on our way out with the lineage, we did it in 4 days, which probably you shouldn't do, but you can do it.
That's what happens when you like stay as long as you possibly can, and you have to be in Maine for a wedding in like 4 weeks. So you have to be in Maine for a wedding, and they were like, "Why are you still here?" And we're like, "We just love it so much."
So the other thing I have, people ask all the time is self-service. Now you do have a lot more self-service than you think. And we got Starlink while we were up there, and that's the big thing. I mean, who doesn't have Starlink these days?
We didn't.
We didn't. We got it in Homer, Alaska this time. Yeah. When the Starlink Mini came out, that's what made me want to jump on board of the Starlink thing because it is so small. Yeah. And it was just really easy to set up. You just throw it out there on the ground. Just because it wasn't our RV, so we couldn't permanently mount it on the lineage roof. We just put it in the dashboard, and we were getting service running down the Cassier in one of the most remote places ever. So service, if you really care about it, I mean, if you get Starlink, you're going to be fine. What's great about that is, I mean, there's some upfront costs, but the fact that you can pause that service makes it, in my opinion, a relatively cheap alternative.
Yeah, we've had ours on pause for months, which is amazing. Like we didn't actually know when we first signed up.
We took our Starlink to Iceland.
We did.
We did go to Iceland.
You've seen us with them. We haven't seen it on our channel yet, but the Starlink was amazing in Iceland. We're taking it to Europe this year. Like it's just amazing that it's so small and you have the ability to have service anywhere. And I know that that's a question that actually came up multiple times in the questions that people sent to us. So hopefully that answers all of that for you guys. Our last point is, should I caravan? And we already said, yes, obviously we think it's a great, oh my gosh, look at this photo. JJ, my goodness. If you guys have, followed either one of us, you know that our meeting and caravanning together in Alaska just started this most beautiful experience as friends, and that we have met up multiple times. That picture that you guys see right now is actually, obviously JJ's there, so we're not in Alaska anymore, is actually in our home state of Maine. And so just like in Alaska, when you start, I know, if you meet people and you connect with people in such a deep way like we did in Alaska, you will find other ways to caravan with people. And so it brings up the point of, should you caravan? And there are the caveats, right? There are a couple things that we all think that you guys need to keep in mind. You can't just like meet some nice people on the road and be like, hey, let's caravan together. Hopefully it'll work.
You can.
But there are some things you need to think about. So
meaning, I don't think you should bring, in a trip like this, 3 rigs would be a lot to try to make sure you're getting 3 rigs everywhere at the same time. So think about that. And then the major things you have to think about is, do you guys like each other? So,
like everybody like each other.
That's the first hurdle. What's your budget? What's your travel style? There's all these things that you have to take into effect or take into account before you just ruin each other's trips because somebody likes to sleep in, somebody likes to get up and get going early. Someone only wants to drive 10 miles. The other one wants to drive 200 miles. So you have to have all of those kind of travel things
in common,
kind of line up a little bit.
Yeah. What are your work schedules?
Don't worry about it. What you can do to make that work, if you just love each other that much, but some of that just doesn't flow, you can break away and then meet up at a different point. And you can do that up in Alaska. You can do that going across the country. It's really easy to do because travel with friends is so much fun. It really is fun. Like, can you imagine, like, you live in a neighborhood and be like, I wish I could just bring my neighbor with me everywhere I go. That's the way it is. You have your traveling neighbors. It's a lot of fun when you experience things with somebody else that's like-minded. It's even, I don't know, stronger because there's proof. So there's someone there with you experiencing the same thing. You're not making it up. So yeah, there's definitely, even if there are some challenges to do it, I think it's worth it to do it sometimes, caravanning. But you do not.
We always say the journey's better together, right? I think, like you're saying, you want to experience that with people, and it's really cool to have someone by your side. I think too, another point is like rig size comes into play a lot of it too, just because we've noticed that on some of the caravanning we've done. You're only as small as your biggest rig. So not saying, it doesn't 100% work if you're in two different rig sizes, but at the same time, that's always something to consider. If you're intentionally being small to be maneuverable and fast and flexible, but you caravan with someone who's in, a 45-foot, rig, then, it kind of takes away that flexibility. So I noticed that's been something big is, just being in something that's kind of a similar style of travel is always helpful if that's a focus of yours, is to stay at a certain pace. Because if we're in our big rig, we want to stay longer. We want to sit longer. We don't want to be packing up and moving every day. But if I'm in the lineage, the small class C, I want to be moving all the time. I want to be moving every day because that's the point. So I think that's always something to consider too, is travel styles are completely different in your whatever rig you're in.
Yeah, Anne asked, how do we meet to caravan? And we touched on this at the beginning where we just ran into each other to meet up. But like, we didn't immediately say, all right, we've met. Let's stick together for the rest of the trip to Alaska. Like, we didn't know.
Although I did make chocolate peanut butter no-bake cookies, and to this day, I think that sealed the deal for Nathan.
Well, I knew I wanted to stick with you,
but
you didn't know that you were actually crazy, like, whether we're crazy YouTubers that were just pretending to be who we weren't or whatever. So like,
I think it worked out because we ended up going to the same place the next one, and then we didn't plan it, but we ended up going to the same place the next time. We're like, all right, this is kind of working.
It's working. And you'll know if you start meshing together, that's for sure. She was asking if it was at a Facebook group or a meetup or whatever, and is a really great thing to think about if you are trying to go on trips and stuff like that. Going to meetups, going to Nathan and Marissa's huddle in April, like that's such a great way to meet people. And you're going to meet people that are like planning their trip to Alaska, and maybe you're going to meet that caravan buddy that has the same travel style, and the family really meshes, and you're planning on boondocking the same kind of amount of time. That's how you can meet people on those adventures. It'll be the same when we take the cruise. There's a lot of RVers that are going on the cruise with us, and maybe you'll meet your future caravanners. We know that that's happened in past events.
And don't look for people just like you, if that makes any sense. You'd be surprised who we see caravan together. They might not have kids, or they could be totally different ages. So don't only be on the lookout for you, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We actually had said that because we had two people that did meet through our events and caravan to Alaska this summer. And I told Nathan I never would have put those groups together, but they had an amazing time because one had kids, one didn't, and they just had the best time. And it is so cool that they got to experience that together. And just like you're saying, I never would have put that together, but they found each other. So it's good to put yourself out there and attend these events, all these RVing experiences, because it's just a great way to spend a lot of time together and meet a larger group of people, and maybe find that one that you want to caravan with, or a new friend. That's how we've been able to do it and meet people on the road.
I love when we see
like generational differences. Like I've seen, like I call them. I'm sorry, Nathan. I didn't mean to cut you off. I've totally met like what I call RV grandparents, where like there's literally like an age gap where an older couple has met a younger family and they just all hit it off and they become like family members. They're like RV grandparents and they travel in caravan. And so that's to Corey's point. I just think it's such a beautiful thing that happens naturally in the RV community. Sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and Kate, more Sunsets, please, is talking about the budget and I think to me, that makes me think about anything in life, really. If you can figure out a way to do an easy experiment. And to me, if you can find a way, it doesn't always work out like that, but I wouldn't just meet somebody on Facebook and say, hey, let's caravan for 3 months together. Like it'd be, you go on like a small trip together, like go 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and go to a few different places, boondock a little bit or not, try to like simulate what Alaska would be like and get a feel for how people eat out, how they spend money, how fast they move, when they wake up, when they go to bed, whether or not they, there's just so many variations with how things could go. I saw this question too. Brenda was asking, I think we're not saying, Brenda, that you have to caravan and you can't go by yourself.
No,
but I think you do need to be comfortable with, again, assuming you could get a flat tire or something. I don't think assume the worst, that you're going to, again, be stuck in a snowstorm and nobody's going to find you. It's nothing like that. But I think at least knowing how you could possibly change your own tire if it's possible. If you have a large Class A, I'm really not, somebody asked earlier about Coach Net and things like that. I'm really not sure. I can't answer that. I don't know if you guys have any answers or not. Like some Class A's, you're not going to change the tire yourself.
We did not caravan on our way up.
Yeah, and we went by ourselves.
We went by ourselves just because nothing had worked out. We just happened to meet you guys and kind of, I mean, we just camped a little bit together and then decided we wanted to head out at the same time. And we thought, well, that seems good to go together, right? And we could be there for each other. But it wasn't the plan. And we both didn't do it on the way up and everything was fine. So I don't think it's a have to. It's a nice thing to have. And if it works out, it works out great. If it doesn't, kind of like the roads, don't let that be a deterrent to not go. Like, go do it. Maybe you'll meet somebody along the way too.
I mean, there's stretches of road in the lower 48 where I'm not going to say the cell signal is quite as bad, but honestly, the cell, once you get on the main route in Alaska, the cell's not that bad. You got some gaps in Canada, but like if you're comfortable going out west by yourself in the lower 48, I would say you should be comfortable going to Alaska by yourself too. Just again, take it easy, enjoy the journey, and know some basics about, what you should know in the lower 48 as well, as far as maintenance and tires and all that kind of thing.
And then Brenda, I would say the majority of people are older up in Alaska.
Yes, and our own,
on their own. I would say the majority is older. So
because it's such I always call it, it's a journey to get up there. Like it can take months or, so I think
you're not going to get old driving up there, but
no. But I think, I would say that is definitely more that you'll see because they tend to have more time or be retired or, because working and going through the drive. Now, Starlink has made that easier, but we saw people struggle, right? They struggled to, when they're working full time, to be able to go through those spots with no service and work. So, but I think you'll probably see more working age people be able to do it now with Starlink because they might be able to do it. But what are you?
I don't know. I'm not
hilarious.
Everybody's thinking it. I might as well post it on there.
No, I mean, but it makes sense. Like, so we had AT&T going up there. And you guys had Verizon at the time. So one of us always had service, it seemed like.
That was really, really cool for sure. I want to get to all the questions really quick. I just want to give everyone a rundown about the cruise that we have mentioned in September. So our family with extended family members and Nathan and Marissa with extended family members are finally doing this together. We're going to be going and seeing Alaska in a whole new way that neither one of our families have seen before. And we would really love for you guys to come with us. The sailing is from September 26th through October 3rd of this year. We're leaving from Seattle. And we are hitting Juneau, Skagway, Sitka, and then we hit Victoria, British Columbia on the way back, and then it comes back to Seattle. We're currently working on trying to find some opportunities for possibly group parking. We're trying to work with somebody to be able to get some RV parking for people, and we'll let you know if we're able to come up with something like that. But we have people flying in, the RVers that are just flying across the country. We have people who are going to be RVing to Seattle and then leaving their RVs for the cruise and coming back. That's what we're going to be doing. But if you want any information about the ship, we're taking the Anthem of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. About our rooms, all of them are unobstructed. ocean view balcony rooms that are absolutely beautiful. And we have a lot of special things for our group that's going to be going that we cannot wait to share with you guys. One of the things that we wanted to do is, because we have so many people from so many walks of life, whether they're RVers or not RVers or have kids or they're older, we have people celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. We have people celebrating birthdays and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's going to be really, really fun. Yay! That's awesome. We have a lot of people that are booked so far, and we only have a few cabins that are left, and they're only going to be available until the end of March. So once that date hits, our locked-in price that's really good is going to end. So look at all these people that booked today. That's so fun.
I'm so excited.
There is a Facebook group that we're going to list down below. If you have any questions, join the Facebook group and ask your questions. And then there's already people starting to plan their excursions. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So the group things that we have planned are going to be actually on the ship so that you guys can book whatever excursions work for your family or whatever things you guys have waited to do. I, for one, am getting on that train in Skagway because we did not get to do that when we were there this past summer. So I cannot wait to do that. But just a few things, a few pieces of information. We're going to have tons of giveaways. And no, you're not going to have to carry like, an e-bike home with you on there. We'll have gift cards for all of the giveaways that we have, but we have some great partners that are going to be working with us. We can't wait for that. We're going to have an actual sail away crew check-in. So when you get on the ship, you will be given a certain priority time to get on, and you're going to be going to one location where the 4 of us will be meeting you and making sure that everything is good, along with Driven to Venture, Matt and Ashley, who are incredible travel guides. I don't even like the word travel agent because there's so much more than that.
They're full-time RVers.
That's right. So they're going to be there as well. And we're just going to make sure all your questions are answered. You'll be able to check in, know exactly where your rooms are, and it'll just make that process, especially if you've never been on a cruise before, it'll make it that much faster. You're going to have onboard spending credits. So each stateroom is going to have $100 free of onboard credit that you can use for whatever you want. We're going to have an ice cream social. We have a swag bag that everyone will also get at that initial meet and greet, and just different pop-up events and really cool stuff. We're going to have a Q&A. We have an entire massive area all like set aside that will be just for our group for these nights. So, and then the thing that we're going to look forward to the most and just pray that the weather holds is obviously we really want to see the Northern Lights with you guys. And so we're going to have kind of like a Northern Lights lookout, and we'll make sure we can notify everybody that's in our group if for some reason the Northern Lights are going off, and we hopefully will be able to see that on the ship with you guys. I know that's a question that has come in. Somebody asked if they could see the Northern Lights from the ship or if they had to do like an excursion. All excursions will be taking place during the day because we will be on the ship moving every single night. So you won't need to worry about booking any type of Northern Lights excursion. It's just going to be that we're all going to be keeping our eyes peeled and checking the weather and stuff. And hopefully we'll get to see that. And we are going to have to do like a sunrise and donuts. None of us are getting up at sunrise on it. So that's just another thing that we'll be doing. So that's all the information for you guys.
Join the Facebook group if you got some questions.
Yes. Any questions?
Yeah, and that's what you're saying for Joe. The best thing to do would be to join the Facebook group. And you don't have, when you join this group, like you don't have to be going. You can
no. This is just for and gain information. Who wants information.
So hop in the group, Joe. Ask about the outings. And some people I think are like just creating their own groups to go on these outings. I don't think there's like an official, we're going at this time, but everybody's just forming their own groups, which is really cool because this might be somebody you caravan to Alaska with in an RV next year, the year after, who knows. With that.
Also, if you're single, this is a good way for you to find somebody else.
We've had 5 people?
Yeah,
10 people find partners
to go on. So it's really, really cool. So if you're looking for someone, if you're
single, meaning they want someone to share a room with, not
correct. We're not making this a matchmakers where you can find someone in
matchmaking.
Marriage ceremonies already.
Yes. It's half the money if you share.
We just opened up a whole other chat group.
I just want to clarify.
This is not what this cruise is about.
We had some people. Yes,
it's much more expensive to be a single person in one of these cabins than to have 2 people staying in there. So it's more cost effective if you can find someone to come with you. So. Let's get to some of the questions that I know all of you guys have brought in, and I know that we're over an hour right now. So we're going to rapid fire go through some questions that are on here. Is a 4x4 required for the whole trip to Alaska?
No.
Which they said the motorhome did not look like a 4x4. It was not. Someone was asking what the best options are to rent an RV if that's your decision to rent something and go. And we don't have any experience with that.
It would be expensive, I would think.
I would imagine.
Actually, the Walshes
I have looked into it. Have the Walshes done it?
They, I think it was Winnebago or one of the companies they were needing to get RVs up there. So they were given a certain amount of time to get an RV up there, and they got a huge discount by bringing an RV up there, which is something I touched on earlier. But yeah, of course.
And then you could fly back. So that was just like an option for getting up there and taking the trip or whatever. I plan to drive from Arkansas to Alaska next September. Your videos have given me so many places that I want to see. Is there one thing not to miss on a trip to Alaska? I don't know how to answer
What was your highlight? What would you say y'all's highlight is? And we can say what our highlight was.
I think it's your priority list. Like, I just wanted to get up there. My highlight was driving up there, because that gives you the sense of an accomplishment of completing a journey. You feel far away. It's just it's a really special feeling. So the drive itself, it's the last frontier. Like, it's crazy. I wanted to try panning for gold, which was something I really wanted to do. I didn't do it the first time. We did it
this summer. Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun, because that's what's like sparked my childhood. I don't know, sense of adventure was the Klondike Gold Rush and people coming across the country to settle California. That kind of stuff is why we're on the road, really. That sense of adventure. I wanted to see Denali. I wanted to get a picture with Denali.
I was going to say, it was the picture of his Denali with Denali. Northern Lights is top of the list for me. And then the highlight after that. So I think that you're going to have priorities when you get there. And then there are going to be some places that just blow you away. And Homer will always be like just Homer. Very special for us.
Yeah. Anytime you can get out on the water in Alaska, take the opportunity. The water. It's like Alaska, you think is so big. But to me, I think the water, like seeing all these coastal towns, getting on the water, and all the wildlife that you can see being on the water is amazing.
What was your guys' top?
I would say, I mean, obviously Northern Lights, that was epic. Yeah. But if I had to pick, because we did a lot of different tours, we didn't know if we would be back, and we, we did like tours to see bears. That's always a big one. We went to Lake Clark and we did stuff like that. But I would say the coolest thing we did, and to this day, probably one of the top 5 things we've ever seen in our 10 years of travel, is we took a flight with Alaska Float Plane, like around Denali, and I cannot even describe.
Out of Talkeetna.
Right? Yeah. And so he flew us around. I mean, I can't even put into words what it's like floating over these mountains and clouds and being where you feel like you can touch Denali, and flying over base camp. Like, it was just such a cool experience, and literally just crying. And maybe that's because I was pregnant. No,
I think for sure that is just like an incredible experience. And that's something else you have to think about as you're budgeting. So like as a couple traveling alone, like you have 2 people to do that. When we're ever been in Alaska, we've had 4 people. And so that makes those excursions that much more expensive. So it is something to think about, like if that's a priority, making sure you're budgeting for that. Would we switch full time to the lineage, the Grand Design lineage, if we were empty nesters?
Yes.
And for us, 100%.
Yeah, that kind of travel is really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you need to figure out how you travel. And Corey's advice is always, when you buy an RV, be as small as you possibly can, but still living comfortably for you. So whatever that means,
different for everybody.
That looks different for everybody.
That could be a 45-foot fifth for some people. Yep. That's just fine. But just think about it. Like, the idea of travel is to be able to travel, and the smaller you are, the easier it is to do it.
Let's see. We've already covered some of those. If time was not a factor, how much time would you give yourself? I mean, to do all the things that we did, like I always suggest like giving yourself at least 2 months. But a lot of people take a week to get up,
a week to get down.
Yep.
In a month in Alaska, but you could do it in less. You could do it in less time. I think you need a minimum of a month, but I don't think you need more than 2 months, honestly.
Yeah. We covered that already. What do you think about a single woman in a 35-foot motorhome going to Alaska? I think that you're a rock star and you can do whatever you want is what I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
37-foot motorhome.
35.
Oh, sorry. So I think that, if you're comfortable and you know your rig really well and you're comfortable with RVing already, I don't know if I would by myself, even with the experience that we have right now, I don't think I would take like a brand new RV that I've never RV'd in before without any experience and drive to Alaska. But it depends on like how confident you are.
Totally different mindset though.
Yeah. But I'm saying like if you didn't have any experience.
There were tons of people up there solo traveling. Tons of people.
Mike was asking Nathan and Marissa if you would go back in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, like I said, don't invite the Mosses if you don't meet it. If someone invited us, we would go.
It's obviously not warm, but it's not as cold as you think it would be. It's like when you've ever been to Colorado, it's like a brisk cold. So as long as you're...
And we stayed the whole month of March. So it wasn't like we just went
cold
for a couple days and was like, the weather... we were there the whole month of March. March was incredible because they're starting to get daylight in March. The Iditarod race is going on in March. And we still got to experience the beauty of the snow and the snow activities. Oh, the ice sculptures. They have the world
that's right.
ice sculpting championship there. And that is just magical. And you can walk and see it at night and they're all lit up. It's just, and you got the hot springs. Cool. There's just something special about winter. It's just a different experience. So I would totally do it again and love to go back.
What we learned in Alaska too is, in Iceland as well, is that as long as you're dressed appropriately, it'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't dress like Nathan with like one layer when it's freezing cold outside.
Jamie Carter asked windshield repair kit. We never had any chips in our windshield, but there's two reasons for that, I believe, is don't tailgate people. Give the person ahead of you, especially if you're going to hit a gravel road section, give that person a wide berth so you don't get anything. And if you have room to move over safety and you see some guy just
dumping stuff,
hauling butt down the other side of the lane, move over a foot or something and give those rock chips a little bit of leeway. Only if you
added the dusters things. What are those called?
On the back of the van. They're not a bad idea.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the question was about
the windshields, like getting cracks in your windshield and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'd move over a little bit if you see someone crazy coming at you. And because some of those gravel roads are so wide. So and we never had any cracks.
Never. Nope. It's funny. Any damage we've ever had to our windshield, which is really funny because Safe Flight just repaired our windshield to the truck on Friday, has all happened like in locations with family, like Texas and Florida. Ridiculous. Yeah. This is a question for you guys because we've never been a part of it ourselves. Sandra Campbell asked, is full-time family membership worth the cost? We have a 12-year-old looking for a friend to convince her that it's good to travel.
I think if you're looking to connect with friends, it's absolutely worth the cost. I think going to events and rallies in general are the best way to connect. It's a hack and a shortcut to relationships. Yeah. I hate to say it this way, but if you just sit in a campground and you're hoping the right person will walk around or you run into the right person, it could happen.
You gotta be out.
But but these rallies are almost like speed dating. You get to meet a lot of different people. Yeah. You get to meet a lot of people.
But we are not matchmaking. I want to make that clear.
It sounds like we are in this video, but no, like I think
I went to your rally and you didn't find my person. That's hilarious.
And the other automatic way is 1,000 Trails membership, not like the full package. I'm talking the $500.
It's called the camping package or something.
If you want to meet people, get 1,000 Trails pass and go to Florida
in the winter time.
You will have too many friends.
You'll be like, okay, it's time to leave. There's a lot of people. TVC Raider said, what is an unexpected challenge that you faced on your journey? And all I can think about is like worrying that the Airstream was going to like flip over when we pulled over for the stuff.
The funny second part to that is the reason we were in that situation.
So
did you
I
see
saw
that
it on their Instagram today, and I commented on her Instagram. So they got pulled over, Phil and Stacy, and the cop knew them. And I said that happened to us. It was in Canada, right?
Canada, yeah.
But the shoulder where we got pulled over, it ended up being someone who followed our channel and wanted to say hello, which was incredible, and we loved it.
Nerve-wracking though, when a cop's pulling.
Yeah, it is. You're like, what did I do? You know,
that was not a safe place to pull you guys over.
No, but the shoulder was very soft, right? So the Airstream was parked on the side of the road, and it just started slipping off the side of the road. And the cop had already like left, and it was a busy highway. And so thankfully you guys were there, and we're literally like digging. I seriously thought the Airstream was going to tip. It was like sideways, and I thought, this is a goner. What are we going to do when our Airstream flips? But we're like digging it out, and me and Jesse are holding traffic on both sides so that we
was
can
like
try to get out.
70 miles an hour.
Oh
like
gosh.
traffic was flying. Oh my
Good
God.
times. Good times.
Yeah, that was really, really fun. Somebody was asking, can you use a generator when boondocking? So I know that you may be worried about like disturbing other people. Almost everybody boondocking at some point or another is going to be having a generator, and it's not like you're in a campground where there's generator hours. So obviously, like, don't leave it on all night long, disturbing neighbors maybe right next to you. Like, I think you should still be like considerate of other RVers. But yes, I think that you can use it, no problem. Let's see. We've covered a ton of these and some of the stuff we've talked about. So if you asked a question and I'm skipping it, it's because I think we've already addressed it. We talked about dump stations and water being everywhere.
Potable water is
everywhere.
It's really, really easy to find. So you don't need to be driving around with a full tank of water unless you have a destination where like a mile down the road, you're like, I'm going to fill up because I'm going to go here for a week. Then at that point, fill up, drive slow there, and you should be fine.
So Paulo asked he said he's from New England.
It's interesting what people are noticing, by the way. So apparently the light is casting crosses on our fridge behind us.
Oh, it is.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. They asked how long you would take to go from New England to Alaska and back. And when we went the first time, we left from Maine and drove all the way up. We did take a couple stops in between, but I mean, even from Maine, I still think that you could do it if you had to in like 6 weeks. I would give myself 8 weeks if you have the time. But again, it's worth the trip going, even if you have a shorter time frame. You don't want to like rush, obviously, but if that's your only opportunity to go, then do it. Like, just go and see whatever you can. Did we notice if it was harder to find an overnight spot on the side of the road in the summer as opposed to our previous trip? Was it busier?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We never had any issues, and he's not kidding. We didn't book anything.
No.
Mostly because we didn't actually know we were getting the lineage until 3 days before we left.
Some
and we
of it had to do with
the
sheer small size of the lineage.
True.
But I purposely looked at it and like, if I had our other rig here, would we have gotten in here? And probably 89%, 90% of the time, we would have gotten in with whatever rig we had.
Yeah.
Was Valdez? That Valdez spot we had, was that still open? That's one of my favorite spots.
No,
you can't. I know that was kind of close to closing down.
Lake anymore.
Yeah.
That was awesome. No, that's closed down, but we stayed at the campground that was like right in town, which was beautiful. Okay, this question comes up a lot, and I do want to address it really quickly. Like, how much does it cost to go to Alaska? And it's an impossible question to answer because it depends on what kind of rig you have. It depends on how fast you're going, how long you're going to be there. Do you boondock at all? Do you want to stay in full hookup campgrounds the whole time? Do you eat out every single night? There's so many options that it's literally impossible for us to give those answers.
I would say, like, if you travel for a month down in the States, add 20%, 25% to that cost, and that's probably what it costs to travel for a month up to Alaska.
Fuel, all that stuff is just priced up. But that's
Didn't we do a video on that?
We did. I think we did a video on it.
We did a video where we took our expenses in exactly what you said in the U.S. and took our expenses in Alaska, and we compared them.
Oh,
and
it
was
okay.
It was actually because we boondocked almost the whole time.
Yeah,
I think we only spent 3 nights or something where we paid for a campground we went or something. Not much. I think we stayed in Fairbanks maybe, and you guys didn't, but. It was really close to what we'd spent in the U.S. if we'd stayed in campgrounds.
I think the only additional cost would be knowing what excursions you're going to. Are you going to take a float plane?
Yeah.
You're going to want to get on a boat and go see glaciers calving and go see some whales and stuff. So
that question just came up.
A couple of those extra expenses versus, or maybe you do those same kind of trips, across, whitewater rafting trip or something. when you're traveling for a month out west. So it really is based on how you travel. I mean, that's the 20% is going to be just the elevated cost of some of the food items going through Canada and up in Alaska, and a slightly elevated fuel price in Alaska. Wasn't that much more. Canada is definitely
a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you want to watch that. Traveling Grands asked something that you just mentioned. They asked if the Kenai Fjords boat tour was worth it, and it was 100% worth the time and money, in my opinion.
The one out of Seward?
The one that the tour that we took, the boat tour that we took, was amazing.
Gosh,
yeah, amazing.
Did you guys still? We use Campendium a lot. I think it's kind of become more of our go-to. In the lower 48, is that still pretty effective?
iOverlander.
Yeah, iOverlander is kind of
that's what we used in Waha was iOverlander.
So if you're looking for boondocking off the side of the road stuff, I probably lean toward iOverlander. I'm assuming Campendium would have most of the campgrounds probably on there, maybe a few of the boondocking spots.
I think the only issue with Campendium is that there's not as many reviews that are recent, and so if you're that's something that we look at and something we recommend to all of you guys is that find whichever one works best for you as far as whatever service that is, but make sure that they have up to date. Like, I want to know if someone's been there in the last couple months and what their experience was.
We use Allstays, we use iOverlander, we use Campendium, basically in all together. We don't just solely rely on one. If you don't have enough information, go to the next one, and maybe that one will have more information about the spot you're trying to stay at. But it's really easy. You zoom down on the map on where you want to go, and a bunch of stuff will populate, and you'll see, oh, I want to stay there.
On the Brink asked if the new LJMJ fifth wheel is going to Alaska anytime soon.
We'll get it broke in first. We'll see how that goes.
We're breaking it in. That's coming on a video.
I think we said this already. Yeah, for sure. Joe Jones was asking if there were scheduled outings on the cruise, and we did mention that, but I want to make sure we're answering people's questions about the cruise. But yes, it's
you told me to go to the Facebook page.
Go to the Facebook page. Yep.
When you say Facebook page, is that link in the description?
The Facebook group. Yep. Those links should be in the description in both videos. If they're not, then we'll just we'll make sure that's added. But it's literally called Sail Away Alaska Facebook group, and you should be able to find it. It's not like secret or anything like that. And just request to follow us, and we'll let you in the group. People want to know if we're going to New Zealand anytime soon. I think that would be a really fun friends trip for next time. So
I would love that. Yeah. My brother got back and sister got back from there yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
And they said the RVs were all over and it was wonderful. So that's should be coming up.
David Face is saying, who created the artwork for your logo? And since Nathan and Marissa are the only ones wearing logos right now, I'm guessing that's what he's talking about.
No, I think he was talking about the Sail Away logo, I think.
Oh, is he? Created the art? So. Possibly.
But
Lily,
Harold,
our oldest daughter, Lily, created the logo for Sail Away, if that's what you're talking about. Lily did that logo for us. And there will be t-shirts and magnets and all kinds of fun stuff with our Sail Away 2025 Alaska logo. So that's going to be really fun in the swag bag. Okay. Canada's firearms restrictions. Is there a location stateside that you may have to use to store your toys so you don't have issues crossing the border? We left our stuff either with family or with friends.
But there are places that you can pay to have them shipped up to Alaska. There are places that you can get a locker or a gun place and just leave it at the border and pick it back up on your way down. You can get permits to bring rifles and shotguns and stuff. But I mean, it's a lot of
paperwork.
It's just a bunch of paperwork, and we just didn't want to deal with it. So you can do it, but we didn't. So there's tons of options. And if you're really concerned about it, there's tons of Reddit pages about it. So
so you can look that up. My only suggestion is please don't try to sneak anything across the Canadian border. It's not a good idea. You definitely don't want to get caught doing something that you shouldn't do. Corey still wears sandals in Alaska. He absolutely did still wear sandals in Alaska. And in Iceland when we had to go to our hot springs, but not regularly, only for the hot springs in Iceland. He wore shoes the entire time we were like walking around. Would either of you have taken your big rigs to Alaska? I think that's come up. Ours. We took this one. And we have friends that are on the chat right now that were up there in their massive 45-foot momentum. There we go. There's Jim and Ellen right there. They had a great time. I think that for them, they found it easier to park somewhere and then take like the certain trips that they wanted to take just in their truck. And that ended up being easier for them. So that's another option. If you do only have a big rig, don't not go to Alaska because that's what the rig that you're in, you know. Let's see. Where did the diesel start getting expensive? In Canada, for sure. Like when you cross the border, the diesel gets really expensive.
It gets a little bit more expensive.
That reminds me of when you were waiting to get fuel.
Did we film that? Did that make it to either video?
I don't think that made it to video. I really did.
It made it in hours, and it was hilarious.
Okay, we didn't.
Well, I didn't know if you could film at the border. Remember, it was already stressful enough, and so if you don't know,
it's even more stressful. It's even more stressful when like all of these guards with hands on their guns start walking out towards you.
What she's referring to is fuel was literally $3 a gallon cheaper across the border. My stupid computer said we got 35 more miles left. I shut the truck off. It was only a mile down the road. I shut the truck off. The truck did not turn back on. We ran out of fuel, waiting in line to get back into the United States. I am an idiot. So I said, hey, I got some diesel in the back. I'll just go fill it up. So when you do that, when you run around your truck and frantically open the tonneau cover and pull out tanks, you're going to get
in the line at the border.
I got some attention.
Marissa, I was like,
we know exactly how many guns they had in that building because they all came out.
They look like ants. They look like ants were like coming out of the building, all of them holding their guns and their holsters. Nathan and Marissa are literally behind us, like hiding their faces.
No, Nathan said, should I go out and help him? And I said, no, you are staying in here. You're not going out there.
Because he had the GMC, you have to prime it, right? So of course,
you have to prime it. It's not like a quick automatic prime. So you got to go in there.
So he's got the hood of his truck up.
Oh my!
No, you are staying in this vehicle right now.
Luckily, the guard that came up and actually talked to me was a former Master Chief in the Navy, and he saw the vet plates, and that opened up a conversation, and things cooled down a little.
Somehow, we were not searched.
I don't even know.
I have no idea.
But
okay.
As far as the prices go, they are more money in Canada, and if you look at the price, it's per liter. So, you look at a price around here in gallons and it's 3 cents difference and you're like, oh, no big deal. It's 3 cents times 4 because it's liters. So
yeah, it's a big difference.
Use Gas Buddy. I use Gas Buddy it goes in Canada too. So.
Yeah. And you can get that transferred over. I know we are pushing time limits, guys. I'm going to try to get through just a few more questions, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Let's see. What is one thing that you would not do again that we did on one of our trips to Alaska? Do you guys have anything?
Everything's awesome.
I don't even think I have anything that we would have skipped.
I saw a comment on the state fair earlier. I'm not saying we wouldn't have done it, but I'm saying that is something we didn't talk about. And I think that was neat to go to the state fair.
Yeah.
So, and we didn't even go to the good part of the state fair because the big vegetables weren't even there yet.
Yeah.
There had to have been something. I know it started getting rainy at the end, and that made it more difficult. And I think maybe if we could have timed it where we left a little bit before that rain, I feel like we were kind of done maybe a couple of weeks before we left. But we pushed through, went to the state fair, and did the rain.
We were trying to see the northern lights.
I think overall for us, we were. I think the time from when we crossed the Canadian border to when we got back in the United States was around 3 months, right? And I think we were thinking 2 months would have been enough, 2.5. Mm-hmm. So if it was anything I would change, it would be the length of time we took. Probably instead of 3 months, probably 2 months would probably be enough, I think, for us.
Somebody asked if either one of us are going to Key West this summer, and usually we're in the Keys in the wintertime. We did not make it down this year, but we will not be there in the summer. We actually have a big trip that we are taking with our girls for their 20th and 18th birthdays. I don't even know how those words are coming out of my mouth right now. But we're actually taking a cruise across the Atlantic, and we'll be in Europe into the summer. And then we've got to get back and do like graduation parties because Layla's graduating from high school and all kinds of craziness. So
we're going to spend probably 3 or 4 months out west this summer, which is what I'm really looking forward to.
In a new RV, which also has gotten brought up. Proto 1 is built. We have been to Indiana since Tampa show. Proto 1 is built, and we will be showing some sneak peeks of that. I know our FOS crew has already seen like the video and stuff, but we will be sharing more of that as Proto 2 gets built. But we're doing some new things and some different things that Grand Design and Lippert has never done before, and so that requires more testing and more timeline. So we can't wait. Once the summer is over and we start heading out west and we are heading over to the cruise in September, we will be in our new RV, and we can't wait to share that with us. It's seeing Nathan and Marissa's in Tampa for the first time is just like, well, actually we saw it in Indiana, but
it just
seeing
made
it finished.
Not like them.
I know. We were like green with jealousy.
The tour's coming for ours.
Going back to the gas prices or fuel prices in Canada, you can also, that price includes basically, if you're paying with American, a 32% reduction because the dollar's worth more. So
yeah,
it looks high, but then if you do the math, it comes back down to reality a little bit.
All right. I think that we've answered almost all the questions that have come in. Like anything else, if you guys ever have questions for us, please reach out on any of our social media platforms, on any of the emails that are attached to our websites. And please join the Facebook group, even if you aren't sure if you're going to be able to go on the cruise or not. It'll help you get all of your questions answered, and our amazing agents from Driven to Venture are in the group as well, and they'll be able to really answer all of your questions. They're like professional cruisers. We joke that like we want to be their kids when we grow up, because their boys have been on more cruises than I would even be able to count. So they're really professionals when it comes to this, and they're going to make this event really awesome for us.
So if we did miss your question,
yes,
we did not do it on purpose.
There's a lot of
questions coming through on 2 different channels. Please ask it again after the fact if we don't get to it, or just in a message, and we will make sure we get it answered. We are not skipping anything.
No.
On purpose.
No, but it is getting late, and we want everyone to be able to spend time with their families and get going on the things that they're doing. But thank you guys so much for spending your Sunday evening with us tonight, and all the other nights that you choose to spend with us. It's so awesome. Lanes. Yeah, let's go. Do it. We're gonna love it. It's gonna be amazing.
Thank you, Dale and Angela too. Dale and Angela moderated along with Changing Lanes. So we love.
That's awesome. You were saying the same thing at the same time. Yes.
Oh,
say it again. It went blah 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 blah.
With Dale, thank you, Dale and Angela. They help moderate along with Changing Lanes. So love you guys as well. So thank you.
You guys are awesome. Make sure you guys go and like Changing Lanes' channel if you are obviously not already following. Most of you probably are, and make sure you subscribe to them. And if you have not yet, can you guys hit the like button, like thumbs up on this live? That would be really awesome for all of us as well. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your constant love and support for both of our families. We feel it all the time, and there is no better community that any of us have ever been in than this one, and it's because you guys are so awesome. So we love you all. Thank you for joining us, and we should do this again sometime.
This was a lot of fun. Yes, we should do. Why have we waited so long?
I'm not really sure. Let us know in the comments below, like what other things should we have as discussion points and do a live on. Like that would be really cool. I think we should do a live on the cruise ship.
Ooh.
Possibly.
That would be cool.
That'd be really fun.
When the northern lights are going on.
Nathan's in the background going, how am I going to do this technologically?
It's going to cost us like $3,000 to pay for the internet to do that. We can we'll see. I don't know.
We'll do one after the cruise to let you guys know how everything went. So,
Corey can sneak his Starlink Mini in there, and we'll.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. All right. Well, if we get the Starlink on there, maybe we'll be good to go.
I love it.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful night.
All
right. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.